Dr. Vic here, and excited to have you guys on as we're going to dive into a topic that a lot of chiropractors, I don't want to say need help with this, but it does create more of a vibrant office. It's going to allow you to expand, scale, grow the practice, and so much more. And this one, I think, sometimes is overthought. We just go into things. We don't have a strategy. We don't have a purpose behind stuff. And it's one of the things that I didn't do well at in the first few years of my practice. And then I started to build systems behind this to be more systematic, more of an approach, be more specific in what I did. And we ended up at the last 6, 7 years of my practice, we would map this out the whole entire year, content planning for the whole year. So it's one of the things of what's your strategy and what are you doing to promote content, free content on your Facebook page, on your Instagram. Now somebody say, well, I don't use that. Well, what are you doing to market your practice? You're going to have to do some sort of marketing. I mean, practices grow through marketing. Don't get me wrong. It's one of those things where I didn't spend ever on marketing. And it was one of those things where I grew for referral practice. And it was just the thing that we focused on. It was what our bread and butter was. It's just what we were good at. Because of the cultivating of the relationships and the experience we had in the office, we had systems in place to create those kind of things. And that's a whole other podcast to talk about. But what we did is we would plan out our content each week of what we were going to talk about relating to specific things. So it all aligned to our workshops, the things we were presenting to the public, things we wanted to know, what was the health awareness for the month, all these different things. And we just map them out. And what it does is it makes it a lot easier for you to promote content, to share, to create more of become more of that authority figure in the chiropractic aspect or in health in your community. And you let people know that more by sharing and posting and being consistent. I think not using social media, you're missing out on some components. A lot of people are on social media and it gives you that opportunity to get more exposure. Why not? It doesn't take a whole lot of time and practice. Once you start doing this work consistently, it becomes a lot easier to do. And you can even hire people to do your posting for you. There's things you can post automatically for yourself now to where you map it out for the whole week and you're done and it's all scheduled and you don't have to worry about it again. So there's different ways of what you can do to really do this, but it's having a system. Do you really take time to sit down and map out a month, maybe a quarter, right? Or if you're like us, we did a whole year. And you build out the systems of what you're going to do, what you're going to talk about each week, what's the marketing process, if you do education, and what's going to all align. So that way you have a very unified message. And what's happening in the world today, and the reason why this is so critically important for chiropractors to expand, is that patients or individuals themselves are just overwhelmed. And so we have an overwhelmed mind for most people, and then yet we're not giving a concise message that's really specific and all tailored together. And when we don't do that, we could have got away with that 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Nowadays, you can't get away with that because we are just so overstimulated. So you have to be so much more hyper specific in what you message and how you share things in a specific way, unify force, which is going to allow you then to attract more of the new patients of what you're looking for, the ideal patients as you want, and so much more. So one of the things you can do is you sit with your team and you map it out. You have a marketing calendar. Everybody gets binded into it. And that way, all your marketing stuff's on there. And you have one person who's a coordinator who oversees all that. They're the ones that look it over, make sure things are being done. They have meetings each week to make sure that we're all on page of what we're doing for the week. And that way you have systems in place and checks and balances in place to make sure that you are marketing in a specific way and everybody knows what the target and the objectives are for that week and that month when a new month is coming. So this is where you have clarity, systems in place, checks and balances in place so nothing gets missed, because sometimes it may happen. And this is where you have I map out my own stuff every month to where, and then 2 weeks into the month, I'm already preparing for the next month. So that way I have content being created and all I have to do is just set it up, create it. And then it's just the day of I go and post it. And it's just that simple. And it's less work. I mean, you may think, oh my God, that's going to take a lot of work. It doesn't. Remember, when you prepare right, the action steps are easy. I can't tell you that. I've learned this from cooking. The longest time is the prep work. But when you do the prep work right, cooking is a piece of cake. Unless you're doing something that's long and intensive, most of the time, like smoking or something like that, it's really easy. I mean, it's simple. Prep work is always the longest part. Cooking is the easiest part. Usain Bolt, how much time did he spend training just to cut his time on a 10-second run, right? It's the prep work that's the most important. but it'll get you the results in what you want to yield. If you want to be the best in what you do or just evolve and expand to hit your dreams and goals and what you want to achieve in your practice and so much more, it's the prep work. That's where it's all at. I mean, I studied Michael Jordan like crazy. I'm a big fan. I'm from Chicago. And it's one of those things where studying him and his metrics and what he did, he practiced harder than he did in the game. Imagine that. Imagine if he played in the game of basketball as hard as he did in practice, right? It's the prep work. And so how are you preparing for the day? How are you preparing for the week? How are you preparing for that month, the quarter, and the year? Get systems in place. There is so much out there nowadays that you can use and that you can utilize to go ahead and make your life easier. You know, even if you have teams, there's Trello, there's Monday, there's Slack. There's so many different systems out there that you can use. You have your team all be on the same page. In my office, we use Trello. And it's one of those things that it makes life so much easier, more streamlined. You can see what people are working, what they're up to, and what they're doing, and how to make sure you as a team are officially being effective enough to have your marketing strategies and your principles of what you want to share to be in your office. Now, again, when I say marketing, it doesn't just mean going and doing stuff to try to get new patients. How are you educating your patients? Because you got to remember also take care of the ones I always say take care of better care of the ones who are already in your office than the ones that are outside your office. A lot of times, and you can see this, like just go look at Verizon or phone deals or look at internet deals or even, cable deals, whatever that may be. They always take care of the new people better than they do for the ones who already paid. And I think that's why, even for me, I'm like, that should be the total opposite. You should take care of and give incentives for those who have committed already and have been paying versus the ones that don't. So that's something to think about in your own office and what you're doing when it comes to marketing strategies. Take care of the ones you have. How are you going to educate them and keep them moving forward? And while also enticing and connecting with others to bring in the ideal patient that you want and so much more. So I kept this one short this week because I think that's really what it gets down to. There's so many other things I can talk about. And there's so many strategies, but I think that gets more the way I coach and the way I do things. It's more of what's specific to you and your needs in your practice. Because that's the beauty of chiropractic is there's, no practice is alike. And everyone does things a little different, and that's perfectly fine. I do this with my coaching clients all around. I have clients that are sometimes PI specialized. Some are pain based. Some are wellness based. Some are pediatric focus based. Some are pediatric and pregnancy. It doesn't matter. Some are structural corrective. It doesn't matter what type of practice you have because the principles are the principles that I share and what I'm sharing in this podcast and elsewise, it's really universal. It can apply across the board. Again, the same thing. If you're a PI, what's your target? What's your focus, and what's your marketing strategies? They're a little tweaked, a little different, but it's still there's marketing strategies, distribution, and avenues and things that you're going to focus on just as much as a pediatric family wellness practice is going to do, just as much as a pain clinic is going to do that, and just as much as a decompression clinic and so forth. And I've worked with all of these, and it's one of those things where it doesn't matter what type because the principles still work, right? Prepping, you always have to prep no matter what. And so how do you prepare to create marketing strategies that's going to attract the ideal patients, the avatars of what you're looking for? And if you're like, what the heck's an avatar? What's ideal patient? You start there first before you do any of this. And that's a whole nother podcast I'll get into, but you got to be crystal clear on who you're serving and who you want to work with. So that's what I got for you guys this week. Any questions, let me know, but I appreciate you as always. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast and check out some stuff in the show notes. We have a workshop coming up, and I think it's the 25th of January. It's in the information in the show notes, but it's all about burnout and how to prevent it. And when you prevent burnout, what happens to your business, what happens to your life, and how does it actually all exponentially grow into quantum leaps? I'll be talking more about that. Click the link below. Go ahead and get registered. We only have 100 spots available, and it's first come, first serve. And I'm offering some awesome bonuses for chiropractors for those who go ahead and register. But you have to be a practicing chiropractor and someone who's really ready to commit to make a change. So check it out. Get registered. I look forward to seeing you. Appreciate you guys.